So in reading, I'll just give a note from reading A Treatise on White Magic by Alice A. Bailey, another book. She mentions how when we fit ourselves for service to the plan, the divine unfolding of, the hierarchy, God, our true selves, which is to manifest that evolution of humankind up to Christic consciousness, awakening within the dream, living as enlightened beings instead of muddling through this realm of competition and greed and lack and strife and struggle and politics and masks and stupid stuff. We can then, live more prosperously. And so in that book, she talks about how we get in rapport with the group that we are meant to work with, because we amplify our powers and our efforts through group service, right? Through group work, because it's not about the self. It's not about one individual person, because that's acting in that old paradigm, that old mindset. What's in it for me? What can I do to make me great, to make myself win at the behest of others? And that's not what it's about, because that's that mindset that tricks you to think that you can deceive, or you can one up, or you can prosper over another, or that one life is less important than yours, which is why we see the dynamic in this pyramid as it is. And so to get in rapport, we have to line up and unlock certain portals within ourselves, aka chakras. And as you do that, and as you come into alignment through meditation, through learning to control the mind, through seeking that, through actively and sincerely learning these things, you emit a sound, a note, it says, which is picked up. And if we understand that we're all energy and there's vibrations, and when there's energy moves and vibrates and things sound, all of these things, very subtle, unknown or unseen by us at the personality level, these things, the vibrations, when you feel a person's energy when they walk in the room, these things are going on unbeknownst to us. As you unlock your consciousness, you become aware of them, and it makes more sense that as I do these things, as I agree to do this work, as I agree to understand who I am and learn how I can then be of service to raising the consciousness on this planet, so that we can stop doing harm to others, then I emit a frequency or a note that allows, when they say the student is ready, the teacher will appear. All of these things, they all start to resonate and make sense. Then I fit myself for service. I can receive. I can become a clear channel. I then intuit, use my intuition to find out more where I should be going, what I should be doing. Things start to happen, synchronicities, and meeting different people. Things start to align and connect. That sound, that tone that it's mentioning is very important to that. Doing certain things, raising your vibration. It's not all this woo-woo stuff. It's actually connecting that unseen psychology with what we know in the physical world, and then seeing what we can do with that. Right here, the top of page 9. Some of the points which I may seek to make clear will not be capable of substantiation and cannot be proved by you. These it would be wise to accept as a working hypothesis in order to understand that whereof I seek to speak. Some of the points I may make, you may find yourself capable of checking up in your own life experience, and they will call forth from you a recognition coming from your concrete mind, or they may produce in you a reaction of the intensest conviction emanating from your intuitively aware self. In any case, read slowly. Apply the laws of analogy and of correspondence. Study yourself and your brethren. Seek to link what I say to any knowledge you may possess of the modern theories. And remember that the more truly you live as a soul, the more surely you will comprehend that which may be imparted in these teachings. As you study, you must not forget the basic concept that in all occult work, one is occupied with energy, energy units, energy embodied in forms, energy streams and flow, and that these energies are made potent and embody our purpose through the use of thought. They follow along the well-defined thought currents of the group. It must be remembered, however, that it is in this region of thought that the cleavage comes between black and white magic. It is in the use of thought power that the two aspects of magic can be seen functioning, and therefore it is true that there is no black magic per se until one reaches the realm of mind. No one can be a black magician until the will and the thought work in unison, until mind control and the creative work of the focused mind can be seen. It has oft been said the black magician is rare indeed, and that is verily true, because the creative thinker with power to use the sustained will is also rare. So that's finishing right here. This is interesting to me, here, this discussion on black magic and how the black magician is so rare. But it's funny because what has been done in psychology, we can learn, so mass psychology experiments have been orchestrated on the populace for many, many years. It's been ongoing and it's pervasive and it's very visible. The advertising industry in itself is a blatant and clear and outright depiction of mass psychology, where they study down to the science of, in a magazine, where they would put logos and position certain things on the page in the bottom left corner, because that's where the eye looks when you turn the page. So they would strategically put and insert certain things in these specific places to trigger and store themselves in the mind. And so the mind would pick up and recognize it when you're out and about. Hey, there's that image. Oh, let me go there. That's my preference. That's the brand that I like. That's the brand that I select. They study the dynamics and the psychology of a child and what makes a parent cave when a child is crying incessantly and begging. So they create advertisement triggered directly at the children, so that around Christmas time, they beg and they plead and they whine and they cry and they scream for a toy, and the ad agency goes, yes, this is great. We've manipulated a child in order to manipulate the parent, in order to generate dollars, in order to feed. It all goes on and on and on. So when you understand that mass psychology is a thing, you understand that there's a form of magic to creating and manifesting an outcome that benefits the one over the many. This can be seen as black magic when you look at industries, the media, and how they're influencing the thought of the masses. What they have done is they have linked and aligned certain groups, separated off certain groups, and controlled their psyche to where they interpret situations in a similar way. In psychology, we call it groupthink. When you walk into a room, they've done experiments and you give them a test. And it's a simple test. It has 3 lines drawn on a piece of paper of different sizes, and you ask them, which is the shortest line on this picture? It might be the longest one. I'm just paraphrasing. And there's a test subject in the room, one person that doesn't know the experiment. Everybody else in the room is aware. And they tell everybody else, you're going to pick this line. And it's not the shortest line, but we're going to ask, show us which line is the shortest line on this piece of paper. The test subject says, well, it's this one, obviously. This one, I can see that it's short. I know that that's the right answer. Everyone else in the room is going to say, this other long one is the shortest one. And they're going to be so certain of it too. That group thing is going to then influence the person in the test subject. If that person is not resolute and devout in understanding who they are and what they know, they will then doubt themselves in favor of the group, what the group says. This is groupthink. There's also been experiments too of this, simply with people getting into an elevator and everyone faces the back in the elevator. It's a funny video. You can Google it on YouTube. You can Google it on YouTube. You can do one of those two things. There's a freaking gnat in here. It's bugging me. So you can see that they walk into an elevator, everyone's facing backwards. The elevator door is behind us. Sometimes there's those double-sided elevators, but the people that enter the elevator will see that everyone's facing backwards, and will start off by facing forwards, and then will slowly, gradually start to shift their body and look backwards to be like everybody else. No one wants to be the odd man out. No one wants to be different. No one wants to be the one not wearing a mask. when the masses are telling you, hey, it's not for you, look out for everybody else. Look out for them, help them. But what are we breathing in when we cover up our nose and our mouth? We're breathing out the carbon dioxide, which our body, the God force, has already designed for us to expel certain toxins, expel certain things as we breathe in the energy, the life force, the prana, the ether that is going to refuel and sustain our system, our vessel, that is going to send oxygen to our brain to keep us sharp and vital and alive, that's going to help vitalize our blood, our bones, and make us operate to our highest potential. We're going to cover it up and breathe in the toxic air. Breathe in those droplets that contain COVID that we're so afraid of. Restrict our breathing, harm our lungs, make it harder for us to breathe, make it harder for us to think, make it harder for us to function. But don't be caught without your mask. You'll be different. You'll be wrong. Everyone says this line is the short one. Why are you saying something different? They'll attack you. This is groupthink. This is mass psychology. This is how it works. I'm just saying. Understanding things will help you to speak from conviction, from soul, from source, when everyone else is operating off of manipulation or mass psychology. We need to think long term. Let's think about with that mass situation again. Sorry, I'm getting long-winded, but if I protect myself from COVID-19, which is akin to the flu, the common flu, yes, people are dying, but people die every year from the common flu. But they didn't tell you how many people in your close relations died from the flu. They just said, oh, so-and-so died. Now you're being told, oh, so-and-so died of COVID. It's really out there. It's a real thing. Yes, it absolutely is. I'm sure of it. But if you'll look at my other video by Dr. Shiva, he talks about it, how our bodies are germ factories. They know how to operate and handle these things. What we're doing when we complicate that and convolute it by following orders is probably going to damage us in the long term, right? We're not thinking long term. These experts and these advisors are telling us about how to mitigate a disease. But what about our long-term health? I'm 31 years old. I have a lot more life to live personally. So I'm concerned about what I'm doing when I cover and I start breathing in my own toxins. I'm concerned with that. That matters to me. You know, COVID matters as well. So I'll wear my face shield. I'll comply to an extent. But I'm not going to be so short-minded that I don't understand the big picture as well. We can see with consciousness, we can see in all places at all times, and we don't have short-sighted, and we cannot be manipulated to look only at this corner of the page because we know that there's an entire book to read, correct? Continuing on, and I'll be quiet right here. Let me illustrate. There is need for clear thinking on these matters, for as we study the psychology of the microcosm and arrive at an understanding of his ray impulses and energies, we shall need to see clearly the way we go so that we shall tread the path of selflessness, leading to group awareness, and not the path of individualism, leading eventually and inevitably, as the mind aspect becomes organized, to the left-hand path of black magic. And that rant is where I was getting at that, where we act like the black magician is so rare. That black magician is not so rare because it has created this power of mass perception and mind control, to where the little entities and the thought forms that are not conscious are acting out on a script that the black magician sets forth. So now you have the one magician and you have masses of foot soldiers for the black magic. So now you have these people who will face backwards in the elevator and they don't even know that they're facing the wrong way, but they're controlled by the instigator, the black magician, because they are asleep, because they see not what they do. They follow what they're told. They trust the advertisement. They trust the story that's being sold. Not that we should distrust everything, but when you unlock your consciousness, you see the big picture. You are not short-sighted. You act with compassion. You are compassion. You want humanity to do well and survive long-term. So you question things. I'll leave it at that. The black magician is rare, but black magic is all around us. I'm so triggered, man. Let me read that again. Let me illustrate. There is need for clear thinking on these matters, for as we study the psychology of the microcosm and arrive at an understanding of his ray impulses and energies, we shall need to see clearly the way we go so that we shall tread the path of selflessness, leading to group awareness, and not the path of individualism, leading eventually and inevitably to the left-hand path of black magic. So as we seek to prosper and conquer over another, we are actively participating, however unconscious, to black magic. Those strong souls who consciously and knowingly enter into the realms of spiritual force and take thence that which they need and that which they choose must work with intelligence so that there may be a subsequent wise distribution of force within a chosen area. Those who know themselves to be in the rank and file of aspirants, but who possess the persistence which will drive them forward to the goal, need to remember that theirs is the responsibility of adding their quota to the sum total, and that this is done every time they think of the group, correspond with a fellow aspirant, or meditate. Extend the idea then from the student in a group to the group itself, regarding it as a group unit within a larger group. You have there a perfect analogy to the way the great ones work at this time, referring to the hierarchy, the masters or our mentors in the occult work. Regard therefore all your work as group work, causing effects which are inevitable and contributing to the potency of the group thought form. So it's like the right-hand path is mirroring the left-hand path. We cannot get too down in our perception of the state of the world, because there's an equal force that you will recognize if you choose to tap into the right, paradigm. You will see equally as many people are asleep and are being the bulldogs and the foot soldiers and the henchmen of the black magicians. There is a powerful rising wave of consciousness and beauty and love and light and people and connecting and community that's going on right now that is just equally rising, right? So it's all culminating to this grand something, right? Which is what? The age of Aquarius, which we have just entered. It was July 28th, July 26th. Remember that? And like this book talked about, there's going to be that splitting off. 2/3 will walk the path, 1/3 will stay behind. I don't know what that means. As far as that 1/3, I don't think that the plan is to leave anyone behind, but I think of that academic principle that has been debunked, as they say, of the 100th monkey. So where, enough minds are working and doing things, turning away, doing things the same old way, and then a group start to learn to do things in a different way that works better, is easier, is more practical, is beneficial. They start doing it this way, and then enough critical mass is reached where the 100th monkey then sparks on, and they start doing that same thing. They start acting in that new way. They start unlocking, and they communicate it telepathically. It's just going to critical mass, and then it unleashes this new way of thinking, this new way of being. I think that when 2/3 walk the path, that 1/3 who stayed behind will then click and get it. They'll see, oh, I was following unwittingly. I was choosing to stay asleep. And that choice point is starting to slip away for us. We don't get to stand in that little gray area anymore. It's either black or white, right? So 2/3 will walk the path, 1/3 will stay behind. They will struggle through some strife and they will understand, oh, dang it, I was really pushing the wrong agenda because I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just following orders. So they'll get it, but they just might be a little late to the party, I guess. Extend the idea. I read this part, so here we are. The second thing. The second thing upon which I seek to touch concerns the testing going on inevitably among the aspirants and disciples at this time. This is not so much a testing of their place upon the path as of their power to live in a world as citizens of another kingdom. This is so resonant with me right now. The testing that you will go through in life as an aspirant, as a disciple, as a person who is different in general, as a person who is not connected to a hive mind or a group think, as a person who chooses to be different, to walk the beat of your own drum, to question the reality that is outpictured to you or presented to you, that you understand is not resonant with the right way of being, the compassionate way of being, where everyone can thrive, that utopia. I'll take that over dystopia, which they tell us is the normality. But anyway, you're being tested. And it says it's not testing you to test whether you're really on the path or not. The test is to see your power to live in the world as a citizen of another kingdom. Like you'll see those phrases, not of this world. So how do you show up in this world of it's not a bad world. It's just becoming. How do you show up in that with the intention to rise consciousness and live as that conscious being around many who are asleep, who are willfully, in many ways, ignoring a lot of the information? Everything is at our fingertips right now. We can Google, we can search, we can do anything. But again, people are searching up COVID instead of searching up what does my exhaled breath contain? And why do I breathe that out of my body? Why is it beneficial for me to breathe? Why is that a function that happens automatically that I don't even have to think of consciously? It's because my body knows that in order to survive and be vitalized and thrive, breath is so critical. This whole Black Lives Matter movement sparked by a man who was not permitted to breathe, coinciding with the mass public having their breath restricted. The breath, the spark of the divine, which is within each and every one of us, which is saying, in us, he lives and moves and has his being through that freedom of that breath. What does that consist of? Search that. Protect that. Uphold that. If you're going to be a part of a group think, be a part of the right group. Understand what you're fighting for. They said there was tons of people who worked on building the nuclear bomb because they only had silos of information, silos, however you say that word. And they were only given so much information because that's how they can thrive in black magic, to give you only just so much information to that you work to destroy yourselves unknowingly, work to destroy yourselves. Later on, these smart scientists and these people went to work every day, were real proud of themselves because they were working on this big project. They were building the nuclear bomb that had the potential to destroy humanity. Ask questions. Look further. See the big picture. What am I supporting? I don't think that's too much to ask. Trying to see where I am. Oh yes, about the testing. Testing our power to live in the world as citizens of another kingdom, and as the custodians of that which the world as a rule does not recognize. Insofar as that testing is applied, and insofar as it can be gauged, I seek to point out that the testing is not applied as some think because of their affiliation with any group or because of their one-pointed determination to tread the path. It is applied because the aspirant's own souls so ordained it prior to incarnation, and it was the will of their souls that a certain measure of growth, hitherto unknown, should be attained. A certain degree of detachment from form should be achieved, and a certain preparation should be undergone, which would lead to a liberation from the form life. The idea that a renewed effort towards the goal of spiritual light is the cause of trouble or precipitates disaster is not a statement of fact. The extent of the discipline to be undergone by a disciple is settled and known by his soul before he even takes a body. It is determined by law. And how powerful this statement is, but also this notion that your soul picked its tests and its challenges. Again, if we study our birth chart, it's a blueprint of who we are and understand. It'll even tell you certain challenges with relationships, with career, with finances, with your ego, your self, like your perception of who you are, emotional triggers, all of that is in there. And if we understand that, then it becomes very much like the stars were aligned very specifically to where you could be you. You could be birthed into this existence as you. And so the soul, it says, sets up these tests for you so that it can know that you've reached a certain level before you are safe. I've heard this idea that the soul sometimes floats outside just above the body because the body is too mucky and cluttered with gunk for it to come in. It's not a clean, pure vessel. And so when they call people that you look around and their eyes are dead, the soulless ones, it's because they have not cleared their vessel and readied it for integration into the human vessel, to live and act as the soul, the divine spark within you. It's just floating around outside you. But once you clean up and you get aligned, that soul can then come in safely and take its place on the throne in the kingdom. The kingdom of God is within you. So when the soul can come down and live through you, it has first to test you to see where you are. It says the soul measures your growth. They said that a certain measure of growth should be attained, a certain detachment from the form. Oh, I'm this body, and oh, I need to have this and my nails and this and that and blah, 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 blah. That's what's important. No, the soul determines what level of detachment you have from the form. You understand that this is just a body. I could just as easily have been born into a different one. But I still will respect it and treasure it and try to make it the best that I can for while I have it for this life, because there's a reason that I incarnated into this. And it says that it was decided before the soul took the body and was determined by law. It is the problem of energy units and their mutual interplay which underlies the entire subject of the rays, which we shall seek to investigate. Every group in the world is a nucleus for the focusing and interplay of the 7 types of force, just as every human being is also a meeting place for the 7 types of energy, 2 in the ascendant and 5 less potent. Every group can consequently be a creative center and produce that which is an expression of the controlling energies and of the directed thought of the thinkers in the group. From the standpoint of those who see and guide, therefore, every group is constructing something that is relatively tangible and governed by certain building laws. The great work of the builders proceeds steadily. Often that which is built is inchoate, futile, and without form or purpose, and of no use to either gods or men. But the race as a whole is now coming into an era wherein the mind is becoming a potent factor. Many are learning to hold the mind steady in the light, and consequently are receptive to ideas hitherto unrecognized. If a group of minds can be so drawn together and fused into an adequate synthesis, and if they, in their individual and daily meditation, keep focused or oriented towards that which can be apprehended, great concepts can be grasped and great ideas intuited. Men can train themselves as a group to think these intuited ideas of the true and the beautiful and of the plan into manifested existence, and thus a creation of beauty embodying a divine principle can be built. I'm trying to see where I am right here. This is this goodness. Let me read that again. Look at this magic. Men can train themselves as a group to think these intuited ideas of the true and the beautiful and of the plan into manifested existence, and thus a creation of beauty, embodying a divine principle, can be built. Ponder on this. Seek to fit yourselves for the registering of these ideas, and train yourselves to formulate them into thoughts and to transmit them so that others can apprehend them also. This is the nature of the real work to be done by the new groups and students today who can grasp this idea. This is the nature of the real work to be done by the new groups And students today who can grasp this idea have the opportunity to do some of this pioneering work. Starting here at always. Have some tea. Always the individual of advancement and of poise has been able to do this intuiting and to concretize the idea. Groups of students meditating synchronously should now attempt to do the same. The effort to synchronize effort does not relate so much to the time element as to unity of intent and of purpose. Doing a group meditation on the same purpose is so powerful. Again, synergy. The occult work often will always go back to the group as opposed to the individual. You get so much farther when you are in a group, and a group is 2 or more, okay? It doesn't have to be a huge group. Group is 2 or more. It doesn't matter if one person will sit through this video, that's one other person than me, and that's magic. That's the right-hand path. That's potential. The effort to synchronize effort does not relate so much to the time element. It doesn't matter how much time you spend on a meditation. The effort to unify and the intent and purpose of that effort being made is what's important. There is to be found, where are we? Right here. There is to be found today in the realm of the intuition much of wonder. This can be contacted. It is now the privilege of the race to contact that rain cloud of knowable things to which the ancient seer Patanjali refers in his 4th book. The race, through its many aspirants, can today precipitate this rain cloud so that the brains of men everywhere can register the contact. This is like that 100th monkey. So when we access the unconscious, that's that infinite storehouse of abundance from which all things come, which everything unmanifest comes from, that one stream of light which differentiates itself into the 3, into the 7. So that infinite abundance where all the answers that we seek is in, where we're spiritualists, we learn how to heal. We've got these spontaneous remissions. How about we figure out a natural cure for this pandemic? How about we explore some natural remedies? The CDC doesn't look at spirituality, right? So we are unlocking our consciousness to look at the big picture, to see the whole thing, to see what they do not want us to see, and we explore alternatives. We unlock our gifts, we learn our power, we protect ourselves, we protect our friends, we protect our families, we protect humanity, because we care about our health. Other people might have agendas. We don't have an agenda other than to advance humanity into a thriving, long-lasting, realm. And we already know that restricting the breath, the God force, is not going to be conducive to that. So we say, let's think about it. Let's explore alternatives. Let's get in rapport with the group. Let's manifest some different outcomes. Let's shift the manifested existence and thus create beauty, embody the divine principle, and build something new. The age of Aquarius. So continuing on. It says that rain cloud of knowable things. So when you meditate, you're accessing that unconscious storehouse, right? And the 100th monkey, where you can receive a thought, each and every other human being can receive those same thoughts. So when we empty out our obsession with the form and me, and I'm the chosen one, then we release that Messiah complex, because we understand that all we did was get in rapport with the divine spark that is within each and every one of us. So just as clearly, as readily as we clear up our vessel, we can clearly become a channel to receive those directions and those instructions of what to say, what to do, how to be, what we can accomplish. That same thought form of an invention, say, can come to any other person who has taken the time to quiet their mind and to get into rapport with the masters, the mentors, our essence, our higher selves, those who have learned how to do this and made it occult, secret. So it's not your thought. It is a divine intuitive inspiration, which can be just as easily given to anyone else. So if you don't do the work, someone else will, you know? So that's the divine unfolding, or the great plan, the work. But it would behoove you to do the work, because you were the one who received it. And your divine blueprint might just be that vocation. You might be able to do it in a certain way that connects the other world servers or group to work in rapport with you, because it clicks in a certain way, and it was divined to be that way. But don't think, oh, I have to do it all on my own. It's my, invention. It's my gift. It's mine. It's mine, and it's about me. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to put my stamp on this. It's not what it's about. It will just as quickly be taken from you if you operate from that individualized, selfish motive. We see which ray, I'm trying to let this go back up. We'll see which ray we're operating from when we do that. It's going to be the negative aspect of one of these rays. Here, fourth ray. The fourth ray can be beautiful. It's about beautifying harmony, overcoming conflict. This is where they say that the world is right now, operating off of the fourth ray. The planet is in the fourth ray right here. The negative qualities of this are self-centeredness, inner conflict, psychicism, pride of mind, worrying, dissidence, lack of moral courage. People are scared. People are smart, and they know how to solve these problems, but they stay quiet. They don't have moral courage. Do you know that it's immoral? If we learn about philosophy, ethics, it's immoral to stay quiet while others suffer. That is immoral. Have courage. Being the artist, musician, inaccuracy, indolence, extravagance. The opposite here, self-control, purity of heart, unselfishness, accuracy, mental and moral balance. And then it will be maximized by this other, whichever of these positive aspects of the first three rays you have, which are going to show that you have tenderness, humility, love, compassion, sympathy, and tolerance. All the things that would help you combat these negative qualities here that we see all around us. I have no idea how long this is. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. It was time spent doing the work. This is helping me to get untriggered. But I needed to be triggered so that this could happen. It's a big plan at work, and it's sometimes more than we can understand or see, but we just have to follow as we are guided. Always the individual, I already read this part. We don't want to go backwards too much because we do want to get to bed. The rain cloud. So again, it says that Patanjali referred to a rain cloud of knowable things, and that the entire race now has the privilege to access that rain cloud, because this information that was hidden or secret or occult is now being shared and available to those who seek, right? And we can do the work. Hitherto, this has been the privilege of the illumined and rare seer. In this way, the new age will be ushered in, and the new knowledge will enter into the minds of humanity. This can be practically demonstrated if those who are interested in this treatise on the seven rays can attune themselves to think clearly, and with a poised and illumined mind, seek to understand what is relatively a new aspect of truth. Right here. I hope I'm not scrolling too fast. If anyone's motion sick, sorry about that. In undertaking to reveal something anent the nature of the seven rays, I feel it is necessary to remind all of you who take up this study that any speculation as to the emanating source of the rays must remain profitless until there is developed within each student that apparatus of response and that sensitive mechanism which will enable him to register a wider field of contacts than is at present possible. Many are as yet in the initial stage of registering an awareness of a field of expression which they know exists, the field of soul awareness, but which is not yet for them their normal field of expression. So we're not really familiar with accessing what's available to us in this rain cloud of knowable things. Many know a great deal about it theoretically, but the practical effects of applied knowledge are not yet theirs. Many are conscious of consciousness and are aware of the kingdom of the soul and of an occasional reaction to impression from that kingdom, but they are not yet consciousness itself, nor so identified with the soul that consciousness of all else drops away. To achieve that is their aim and objective. This is our aim and objective: to be conscious of consciousness, to be aware of the kingdom of the soul. But here, to become consciousness itself and to so identify with your soul that consciousness of all else drops away. This is our aim and objective. Let me also remind you that the career of the monad, an aspect of energy found on one or other of the three major rays, can be roughly divided into three parts, leading to a fourth. So this is the career of the aspirant, essentially, the monad. First, you'll have a lower realization of a unity, which is the unity of the form nature. In this unity, the soul is so closely identified with the matter aspect that it sees no distinction, but is the form and knows not itself as a soul. This is the personality, where I am just Sabri. I'm just this person. I was just born into humanity. There's no real purpose. There's no real meaning to life. I am this dense body. There's no soul. There's no essence. There's no life force. There's no purpose, maybe, other than to just maybe live a very 3D realm experience. This is the first level of the career of the monad. Three parts. That's the lower realization. Continuing on, this often reaches its height in some life of full personality expression, wherein the soul is completely centered in personality reactions. The lower life is so strong and vital that a powerful and material expression eventuates. Second, a subsequent and painful differentiation of the consciousness into a realized duality. This is when you first recognize that there are two aspects within yourself. There is that personality, and then there is the soul. In this condition, the man is distinctly aware of what is termed his essential duality. He knows he is spirit matter, is form life, and is the soul in manifestation. During this stage, which covers many lives and carries the man along the path of probation and discipleship as far as the third initiation, the center of gravity, if I may so express it, shifts steadily out of the form side and centers itself more and more in that of the soul. This is where you learn about people, or you recognize, intuit people to be an old soul or a young soul. This is to what degree they are at which of these stages in their career as a monad. The monad is the integration of all aspects of the zodiac, to where you're not just one sign, my sun sign. You are a full embodiment of all that is good in each of those signs, and you can shift and move through those zodiac astrological elements in alignment and harmony with the overarching cycles of the planetary alignments. When you learn about a full moon, we know it's a full moon in Leo, and we're about to learn about we're about to be fully powerful. This is about to be Leo season. It's about confidence. It's about speaking. It's about letting yourself, it's about the self being projected outward. So you learn about these cycles, and you learn about which aspects of yourself to bring forward at that time. When is it time to be reflect and introspective? We just came out of Cancer season, which is very emotional, which is very intuitive, very feeling. It's a water sign. Leo's a fire sign. It's time to get fired up, but in a healthy way. Being the monad and where you are in this career of the monad will indicate what, if you have that old soul or that new soul vibe. Many spend many lives on this second level, where it says you're on the probation of discipleship as far as the third initiation, and you steadily shift out of the form side, just being just this physical body and nothing more, into more and more that of the soul. There is a growing consciousness that there is a reality which embraces and at the same time extinguishes duality. So I learned that I am this body, but I am also not this body. I am both. Remember that the entire story of evolution is the story of consciousness and of a growing expansion of the becoming aware principle, so that from the microscopic interests of the self-conscious man, for we shall retain the parable within the confines of the fourth kingdom in nature, we have a slowly developing inclusiveness which finally leads him into the consciousness of the cosmic Christ, Christed consciousness, awakening. That brings us to this third realm, this third stage, or the third career of the monad, the soul as it goes through its lifetimes to manifest consciousness. Or you can look at it, if you don't believe in reincarnation, in this one life, in the evolution you've had up until this point, where you would watch a video like this. What has developed? What cycles in your life have prompted you to get to this point? Where are you at in your career? Are you in a lower realization? I wouldn't say you are if you're watching this. Are you in that second painful stage where you're aware of the two sides of the coin and moving somewhere along that spectrum as to being more of your soul, who you truly are, your essence, the life force within you, on the path, on your purpose? Or are you here on the third, the higher realization of unity, which follows upon this sense of duality? And in this final stage, the sense of being soul and body is lost. The consciousness identifies itself with the indwelling life of the planet and of the solar system. When this happens, there is the registering of a state of being which lies beyond word, mind, and form expression of any kind. The great Jewish seer sought to convey these three stages in the words, I am that I am. He thus expressed them tritely and succinctly and adequately, and had we but the development to know it. The third, however understood, defies expression and hints at a fourth type of realization, which is that of deity itself. So the one became the three, became the seven, and our work is to work backwards from the 49, from the many, many aspects of individualization that we've created and got so good at, and then working our way back up from the 7 to the 3 to the 1, and that is that Christic consciousness. So the third defies expression and hints at a fourth type of realization, which is that of deity itself, about which it profits us not to speculate. We can't guess at that, but we can only strive to get closer to it. In part 2, we're going to learn about the life, quality, appearance, those definitions, and finish up chapter 1. This is a good place to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and just wish you the best. Wish you a good night or a good day, wherever you are in the world. You know, this was a lot, but hopefully it resonated. If it didn't make sense, slow it down, watch it again, watch it in chunks. I don't care what you need to do with it, but you're here, so you have something of value by grasping this information, because Alice A. Bailey, the entity that she channeled, set that intention in the first part in the foreword, where those who were earnest would be given the gift threefold. They would be able to quickly learn and understand the information and to apply it in their lives. And, you know, those who weren't would be made sleepy by it, basically. They'll be bored to death. That was the little spell that was cast. So if you're still here, be earnest. All right. Oh, I forgot. The third thing was to assemble a group of earnest, sincere, responsible aspirants to unfold the plan of the great ones on earth. So, thank you again. We're going to keep reading. I hope to see you in another. Take care.